stuff, can't stress enough. You're gonna lose a little and it's gonna be tough. Hit the ground running with your super.
So, morning, I'm just mucking Ollie and Joe out. They're just eating their breakfast and playing with the water. I just like to, when we muck them out, wash them out, because the water all drains that way. And they find it quite funny that there's a stream and they like to play in it. So Joe and Ollie are really clean. They poo over there and we over there, and then the bed over here stays completely dry. They're quite amazing animals, considering they stink so much. And you can literally do anything while you're feeding them. They are so greedy. Sorry, there's a wasp on you. I didn't mean to do that. There's a wasp. That was really silly. Sorry. You don't want stinging by a wasp, do you? So last night I went to a Cumbria Ladies in Agriculture event. Now this is a group of women in agriculture set up by a lovely lass called Helen Dent. She's from Carlisle way. And basically it is just talks, farm tours, interesting things. So yeah, my visit to, we went to Gatham Hall, it's called. Here at Cumbria Ladies in Agriculture, looking at some cows. It's taken us 40 miles and a half an hour to get to. I am knackered. I need a mask for that barley because David, she was stood right next to me. And it is a really nice farm, big. I think it was something like 800 acres. It's owned by an estate and they're farming it in like a shared partnership kind of thing. I might be mistaken. I'm sure he did say that though. He's doing things like very restoratively grazing cows. Nothing's indoors. The sheep are indoors at lambing, but the cows are housed outside all year round. It's very much the kind of farm that you would want people to see and imagine that all farming's like that. Do you know what I mean? But like in hindsight, it ain't possible. We farm in more of a, yeah, look, they're inside, they're fed barley, they're fed brewers' grains, they're fed silage. It's a different thing altogether, a lot more labour intensive. He was saying he doesn't have a lot of inputs with the cows. They all carve themselves, they feed themselves. He very, very rarely brings things in. He had a little bit of acclimatising to do when he moved there, because he moved from like the Ulverston area to here, and it's on, like you'll see from the videos, it is kind of on a fell, really, not too high up. Like a moor, if you're from Preston. I don't quite know how you'd describe it. Yeah, like an upland farm. So in comparison to us, we are a lowland farm. We are heavy, we have heavy land. It's wet, it gets muddy, it's not perfect. We could not do that. It's not possible, which is where it comes in that I think you should definitely just farm how is appropriate for your land. That is really appropriate for him to farm like that. This is obviously really appropriate for us to farm like this. You've seen the mess around our feeders. We could not farm like they do. The other part of the talk was by a man, I can't remember his name, which is really rude, but I will find out because he was really cool, from Lake District Farmers. Now, they are the company that buys all of the produce and the animals and the meat and stuff from this guy and from other farmers in the Lake District. They also buy veal off a friend of ours, Lisa and Tom. You'll have seen them on the videos dotted around here, there and everywhere. They've been on a fair few with me, going places. They have a dairy farm and they rear veal. Not what you'd think. They are this big when they go. They're not baby calves like you'd imagine. It just doesn't happen like that. Anyway, they buy the veal off friends of ours. He was really interesting. So basically they're a company and they have big contracts in mostly London. So it's big corporate companies, Google, you know, that kind of thing, that are all really interested in carbon credentials and stuff like that, which as they should be, but not, this is a bit I disagree with, is them carrying on doing their normal thing and passing the buck down to us. That's the bit I disagree with. I think Sainsbury's once did that and they weren't trying to make their improve the carbon footprint whatsoever, and yet they were complaining that farmers were using too much diesel when making crops to put in their stores, while they're wasting half of them because they don't fit in the packaging or they're not perfect vegetables. Another story. But look at me bending down, I'm literally meant to be working. So this guy was really interested in Lake District Farmers. They supply from what I can imagine, they're like a catering company, but that they have access to the farmers, so they kind of cut out the middleman. So they predominantly use herdwick lamb. They're awful animals, and the reason why their meat taste is probably nice is because of that lean, because they're always escaping and running across fields. I would be very interested to do a taste test between a normal lamb, like ours, that is grass-fed, creep-fed, with cake. You know, it's like a Texel cross kind of thing, but pretty bog standard lamb for the table. And then one that is like fed on like herbal lays, that kind of thing, you know, very holistically fed, no creep. And then a herdwick, because he says that herdwicks literally taste a million times better than anything else. I don't know. I don't know. I've never tried, but I'd be very interested to have a taste test to see whether this is true, because I just don't know. And in my head, I just can't see it being so much different. I don't know whether, I just don't know. I'd love to be able to find out though. Oh my God, look, Roy's on the phone to Joe Seals again. JoeSeals.com. While I'm stood in here, masks, barley, masks, barley, even when you're just bucketing up. I know I'm not doing anything, I'm just stood here, but when we're bucketing up and stuff, I bucketed up yesterday just to feed the cows. Like, bear in mind, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, there's about 9 buckets of barley we bucket up. And it was me that did it. And I have been noticing, it's like, kind of takes your breath away. It's a bit like, do you know what I mean? It's really awful. And it's not when we're crushing it. We don't come in when we're crushing at all. But like, I walked up that hill last night. It was a fair hill, mind you. And like, by the time I got to the top, I felt like I'd just been crushing barley. Like, it was really like, you know, like you felt like you had a bit of a chest infection. I was like, and I felt like I needed to cough. So I'm gonna go into town and buy some more. There was 2 behind there. I think one possibly is upstairs when Roy's pushing barley into the hopper. I'm gonna go and buy some more masks and just wear them every time we come in. It's all right in winter because I've got generally snoods on and I just shove them over my face. But when you're in summer, you don't generally have a snood on, do you, or anything to stick across your nose. So yeah, I'm gonna go and get some masks. That's a really good point. That was one of the points that I took from last night because of walking up a hill. And no, I'm not unfit, before anyone asks. I go to fitness, you know. So yeah, back to this fella. He told a really interesting story about one of the bosses from Google had come over from, say, San Francisco or wherever. And he had landed in London, and he obviously had a lot of sway within the corporation because he watched Cowspiracy, which is a very cleverly marketed film. I'm not saying none of it's true, but actually it's not applicable to all UK farming. And he'd watch this, and then he'd rang the chefs that make all the food for the corporate events and stuff and said, take beef off the menu completely, like take it off. And it's like, whoa, hold on a minute. So he ended up getting put onto the fella that we were talking to last night, and he, I don't know whether he showed him round some farms or he sent him videos of farms or whatever, but he ended up talking round and saying, no, it's not as black and white as they're making out. It isn't a clear-cut situation. Yes, there is some bad farming practices, but majority of England, like us, we're not bad farmers, you know, and we're not that bad for the environment. But you're just trying to defend yourself against other people with bad farming practices, which is really annoying, especially when you know you're doing good. But actually, we're not doing as much good as this guy we went to last night. He is really, really trying. I mean, they've planted... Bear in mind, though, he has 800 acres to do this. This is a really talky video. I'm really sorry. I'll do something interesting in a minute. He has like 800 acres to be able to play with, doesn't he? And you can, when you do have... And I mean this in the nicest possible way. When you do have substandard land like his, which is like heather moorland kind of thing... There isn't a right lot of options that you have to do with it. You can't go in and plough it up. You can't stick a load of fertiliser on to make it grow more. You're very limited to machinery and things that you can use up there. And, you know, there's two ways of looking at it. I always used to think, if you ever followed like James Rebanks on Twitter, he'd post this and how he's doing this and he's doing this and he's doing this and he's doing this. And I sat there thinking that we're not too many miles away from him. And I'm thinking, good for you, that you have land that you're able to do that on. You know, that you have half a fell to be able to rewild or whatever, or plant hedges or widen hedgerows, because it's not all being used. But when you've got 200 acres of heavy ground that gets muddy very quickly, you need to utilise every inch of it, you really do. And don't get me wrong, we're doing some good and we're taking, you know, corners out, we're leaving wildlife strips, we're doing this, we're doing that. Not to the extent that they're doing though, but that doesn't make us bad people. It just means that we're not in a position to be able to afford to do that. It's a really talky video, I'm so sorry. So this afternoon we have a company called Antahi Innovations coming. They come from New Zealand. I don't know whether they're actually coming from New Zealand, but I have a suspicion that they are. I have worked with them making videos for at least 4 or 5 years now. No benefit to myself. I just think that they're a wonderful product. I killed a calf a couple of years ago by tubing it wrong. You'll have heard this story if you've been following our story for long enough. Roy never tubed calves. His dad just kind of like hoped for the best and rammed it down and then tried to listen to the bag and stuff. Anyway, I was in charge of tubing calves and I'd never done it wrong, so I just bashed on like anybody would. Anyway, I felt a bit of resistance, and not resistance as in like I thought that was a bit harder to go down than usual kind of thing. Thought nothing of it, listened, thought everything was right. Anyway, tipped the milk in, killed this calf, like absolutely. It wasn't stone dead, which was the most awful thing. It literally like drowned. It was honestly heartbroken. Me and Roy fell out. He was blaming me for not concentrating properly. I was blaming him for having people around talking, because there was actually people there as well, which was mortifying. And I shared this story, and you know, I did what anyone would probably do. I rang the vets and I said, listen, how could this have gone so wrong? I honestly was so sure that I felt it past my fingers. I'm so sure I did it right and it went wrong. And she said, well, it could have possibly been a flap of skin, but likelihood is you just did it wrong. And I'm thinking, oh shit. Asked them how to do it right, for one, and they gave me a very comprehensive talk through of how to tube a calf properly, without the whole sticking it down and listening to the bag, hoping for the best situation. And I have done a lot of videos on calf tubing, especially on TikTok, and people have always said, and I don't mean one or two, I mean a lot of people have said how it's helped them get the courage to do it themselves. I also invested in good equipment. Now, the one-use bags that actually say on them one use, you know, the clear plastic bags that they're only cheap, they're about £6, aren't they, from anywhere? Those, one use. Now, we were using them for years. Like, even one of them had gaffer tape around it. Like, honestly, I can't even tell you how bad it was. So we invested in a bottle from Antahi Innovations. Now, this was Tom Barker. I've just been talking about Tom because I went with Alicia last night. And Tom said he had a boss. He used to work at a dairy farm. He had a boss who he wasn't very hands-on, maybe should we say. and he would tube calves with this bottle. And it was a blue bottle, and I'm sure you've all seen them. It was devised by a vet in New Zealand, and they have like a mouthpiece that goes in first, and then you thread the tube through the mouthpiece to stop the snagging on the throat. The tube's a lot bendier, but obviously to get it down the throat, it needs to be stiff. So this is the way that they devised. I'll show you. I'll go back and show you. I'm sure I'll show you when they come. So anyway, I bought one of these, and I started learning properly how to do it. Then people started asking me on videos, what are you using? So I started telling them, this is what I'm using, wouldn't be without it, it's absolutely amazing, this is what it does. It also comes with teats, bottles, all sorts of stuff. So I went out and I literally bought loads of stuff. Now, it's 60 quid for a bottle, I think. It's not cheap, but you know what? Is it worth losing a calf over? No, it's not. You know, and you go and spend more than 60 quid on a night out or a meal out. So this is what I did. So the company... Oh, have you finished on the phone now? So the company saw these videos I was doing and reached out and said, we love your videos, do you mind if we share them? And I said, oh, hell aye, share away, crack on, absolutely wonderful. And they shared them a few times, and I was really pleased about it. And then all of a sudden they asked my address and they sent me a new tubey, and I was like, oh my god, this is amazing, a new tubey. I was like made up with this tube. They do different sizes as well, so they sent me 2 or 3 sizes. Found that I really liked the purple tube, but the dog had eaten my purple tube, so I got a new purple tube. Absolutely amazing. And then last year, on YouTube, actually, they said, we've sent you something. And I'm thinking, oh yeah, no, it'd be a tube or a lamb colostrum thing or something. No, they'd sent me a pasteuriser, like a full-on pasteuriser. Now, obviously, we're not dairying yet, so I didn't really have any need to plug it in. So it's actually still in the box. I said I wasn't going to make a video and like fake use it. I'm going to show it you, obviously, when I do use it. But like the shed's half built. It's just one of them things. It's really bad timing. So I have just had Ursula, such a cool name, from Antahi Innovations. And she I just thought it was just a rep coming. I didn't realise the actual person was coming. It's so exciting. So she has been to Dairy Spares, which are the UK distributors. It's really windy outside, can you tell? The UK distributors of Antahi Innovations kind of products, the tubey feeders, the pasteurisers, etc. So she had come to do an update on the pasteuriser that they sent me, and also on, obviously, their pasteurisers at Dairy Spares. So while she was here, we got to ask her some really interesting questions. Obviously, she's on her way now the second to Manchester Airport to fly back to New Zealand. So it's not nice to put people on the spot with a camera in the face. But it was a really interesting story that she'd read a book on the way home from being on holiday. I think she said in Guatemala. I could be wrong, but I'm sure she said that, which was really quite exotic. But maybe you're not if you're from New Zealand. It's probably closer than here. And she said the book was called The 4-Hour Work Week. And basically it said anyone can be an inventor. All you need to do is find a problem and find a solution for it. And she thought, well, I know loads of problems. And one of those, being a vet for large animals, was one-use tubey bag feeders, which people hate. People hate them. Sat down on the floor with pig's legs. So what she did is she invented, here is one I prepared earlier. I've just emptied this all out of the pasteuriser. This here, it's like I need 2 hands, Peg. So this here, the tube is really bendy, you can see, compared to the one-use bag. So the way you get it down their throat is you have this stiff bit here that obviously directs it to the right place. And then what you do is you thread it like this. Such a good demonstration. It's the problem that one-use bag is like basically a really rubbish flimsy bag, essentially like this. And what you do is the tube would just come off here and you'd fill it from the top here, and obviously it's all bending, and by the time you've put the tube in the calf, and then this is dropping over, and it just wasn't very good. So what they did is they got a bottle like this. This is an old one, but this essentially fits on the top here, That way, when you're walking around with it, you can plonk this bottle on the floor whilst you thread the tube in the calf. And then when you have finished doing it, you can then pick the bottle up and turn it upside down when you're ready. And it just makes it a really easy to use piece of equipment. Morning, children. Day after. Gets very confusing when I'm actually making these videos. Just going to feed the cows some silage in the field. Little calf is absolutely spot on, proper legend. I think we should name him, not because I'm turning soft again, only because I think we should keep an eye on him as he stands there looking really lost. He fell asleep in a corner, and I think they've just gone over the brow of that hill, and he's probably wondering where the hell they're all at. So I think we should name him just to keep an eye on him. Just to keep an eye on him, which I think's a good idea, so we can follow him through and see how he does. Very important question to people who might know. Someone might just know. Do pears ripen off the tree? That's my question, because it's really, really windy and the pears are nearly ready, and very nearly, but they're all going to blow off in the wind and just going to get lost in the grass. So my question was, do pears ripen off the tree? I've just edited that video that you've just watched and realised how talky it was. I am so sorry. I can see Roy cringing next to me because he tells me I talk too much sometimes, and I totally did. I actually, believe it or not, had more to say on the calf tubing matter and the value of good colostrum management in calves. Now, this is something that I made mistakes in and have also done a lot of research in, and then combined with asking other people that are a lot cleverer than me about their research, going to talks on calves and calf health and stuff like that, and then obviously getting in touch with the fantastic companies like I have done. I am going to do a standalone video for anybody who is interested in that very niche specific topic. I know it's not my usual content, and I know it's not entertaining as such, and I know it might be slightly boring, but I will do a separate video. I don't expect it to do well, but I think that for those who are looking for that information, particularly how pasteurising milk helps reduce the risk of yonis and passing it on to your cows when feeding them the mother's colostrum and not powdered colostrum, things like that. So go and look for that standalone video, because I'll put that on. I'll probably put it on tomorrow. It might not do well, but do you know what? I think it needs to go out there just for educational purposes for everybody. Thank you very much for watching. Always appreciating all of you. I'm so sorry I talk so much. Love you long time, and I'll see you next time.